Hello my fellow whale watchers, welcome to a special hangar review episode. Today we are going to look at the hangar of the player that was on top of the Android Legend League at the time when I produced this video. However, this also tends to change once in a while, so if you check today there is a possibility that you see another player up there. A few words about Legend League first. This is basically another word for Champion League 1, which contains the players with the highest individual ranking points of each platform. This is reset each month at the beginning of a new season, so if you are a Champion League player and you play a lot in the first few hours of a new season, there is a chance that you may end up in Legend League yourself, and that already brings me to a common misconception of Legend League. Of course, it requires a certain skill level to get there, but it's not necessarily the most skilled players or the best players that are on top of Legend League, but it's usually the most active ones. So it's often players that have high stats in many battles within a given time period. Typically, they also squad very often because battles are short, and the squad usually wins, which means many rank points in a short time. So this is a legal way of establishing yourself in Legend League, but also unfortunately Legend League commonly contains quite a few cheaters. Sometimes it's more obvious that players cheat and sometimes not. For example, if somebody with 200 overall wins is on top of Legend League with a huge margin, that's an obvious cheater. And eventually Pixonic will ban him, probably after a few weeks or so. But there are also more subtle ways to cheat. One of these ways is account sharing. This is considered to be cheating, but unfortunately still quite common. If 3 good players in different time zones share one account, it's much easier to bring that account into Legend League. But enough talking, let's have a look at that hangar. Of course, most players in Legend League spend a considerable amount of money, so commonly you see meta hangars in there, because why would you invest in something that's outdated, right? The first build here is the Harpy with Rastor's Muta. That's one of the best support damage dealers in the game right now. The young Lee pilot has a shield breaker. He runs it with last stand, 2 nuclear amplifiers and advanced healing, so this is basically maximizing damage with some additional means to increase survivability. I'm sure that he also runs a drone with an F-slot and a mild damage absorber shield microchip and some on-repair damage boosters. There are a few of those that provide these particular chipsets. One of the most common ones is the Paralyzed drone that also provides lockdown. The Retro Revenant with Toxin Blaze and Puncher. This is a very powerful hybrid build, and many of you may ask yourself, what's the point of that? Why not pure acids or pure flames, for example, right? One reason is most probably one of the latest B-type microchips that was introduced into the game, which is called On Damage Dealt Damage. What this microchip does, when you deal 150,000 damage, it temporarily increases damage output by up to 35% for 5 seconds, in case you have a golden chip. So here's the thing, it stacks up. So if you would, for example, run a pure acid or a pure flame build, what would happen is that you don't deal damage continuously. You would shoot, reload, and then shoot again, which does not really make this microchip that effective. So if you run a brawler hybrid build instead, you deal damage continuously, because the reload mechanisms of these weapons are all slightly different, and as a result you stack up damage much more effectively. He runs the best pilot for the Revenant, which is Vasilisa, and probably the best module set too. Advanced repair unit, nuclear amplifier, repair amplifier, and a balanced unit. Other top player variants sometimes include a second repair amplifier or a second nuclear amplifier. With a good drone, this build becomes almost unkillable. I would suspect that he either runs a new whiteout drone or a common tank drone such as the Nebula, which further increases survivability. The Capri, also here a hybrid build of Toxin and Blaze. The reason for that is exactly the same as for the Revenant probably. He is running it with an on damage dealt damage B-type microchip. Incredibly high DPS together with the nuclear amplifier, plus 2 repair amplifiers and the new Misakian Poncho pilot. I would say this is one of the best setups in the game right now. Very versatile across all game modes, huge damage output, healing capability and almost unkillable. The Giftbringer Fenrir with Puncher Venom. Nothing wrong with that, this is probably his pick and rush tank. Also here he uses the same module setup as for the Revenant plus the Bernadette Wolf pilot. Also this thing is one of the toughest bots to bring down, especially with a tank drone. The Ardent Behemoth with 4 Smutas. This is a relatively new build and was not so common until recently when the behemoth got buffed in the 7.9 rebalance. Again, he's using the same model combination as for the other tanks and the legendary Andre pilot. This is mostly a Titan destroyer, but also against all sorts of flying bots and even as a brawler it is very effective. It is not as tanky as the Revenant or the Fenrir, but it does not need to be because it runs 500 meter range weapons and can basically wipe out everything that tries to come closer. The Auxminus, this is also a quite common build across top players. 3 cinders with 2 onslaught reactors. This is one of the best Titan counters of the game. Why? Because the cinders with damage boosts trigger orbital strikes very fast. So if you combine this with the new Orion mothership, you can basically kill an entire team in a few seconds. The 2 Titan anti-control modules make it immune to effects and provide a bit of additional HP so that it can survive even longer at brawling range when it does not have the reflector shield up. So in short, this is a meta hangar. All of these builds are fairly common across Legend League players these days, and there is not a lot that can be improved really. A new special edition Harpy came out lately, so I'm sure that he will replace his regular Harpy quite soon, because for these players, getting all the latest stuff up to MK3 in a few hours or days is usually not really an issue. Apart from this, the only thing that he can do really is to set up multiple hangars that are optimized for particular game modes, squad roles or particular maps. So that concludes my special hangar review of the hangar on top of Legend League. I hope that you found it interesting. Thanks for listening in and see you on my channel.